Okay, so let's get into the editing section of Choppity. So if you know how to use Canva, you will be able to learn how to use Choppity. It's not that complicated. It might feel it just at the very start if you've never used a video editor before, but I promise you it will make sense if you just stick with me through this little tutorial here. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to click edit on any one of my projects. So like I say, there might be a lot on screen right now, but I promise it will all make sense once I've explained it. So the first thing is that on the right hand side, I have the player. So this is the video, the output video. This is what it's going to look like. On the bottom here, I have the timeline, and this shows me my video kind of in these little objects. If that's a bit complicated, don't worry, we'll get back to that in a second. And just above it, I have kind of like the editing window. Now the stuff that's in this editing window will change depending on whether, for example, I'm trying to change a logo or I'm trying to trim a video, all these different things. So just to get started, all I'm going to do is I'm going to click play and we'll see how it looks so far.
Right. If you care about your customers and then as a result you spend time with your customers.
So you can see we've got the video as we expected. I've got my video, I've got my captions, I've got my logo, and down here on the timeline, one thing that you'll notice is that this object here is purple. I can see my waveform, so the audio, and this is essentially, this object here is this video. So not this logo, not these captions, it's this video here. So in Canva, if you know like layers and how you have the different objects, exactly the same. The only difference is that here we have it over time. So for example, if I want to trim this video, so right now it's 29 seconds long, this video in the background. If I want to trim it and make it shorter, what I can do is I can just go to the end here, drag and move this. Now, one thing you'll notice is that if you look up at the top here as well, the part that's highlighted in purple is also changing. That's because the part that's in purple is essentially the spoken content of this section of the video. So here I actually have the entire transcript of every single word that was spoken in my original video. But the part in purple is this, 25-second long section that is currently selected. Now, the reason that we do that is because sometimes when you're editing speech-driven content, it's a lot easier to kind of look at the transcript and say, okay, I want this section, I want that section, than to have to listen to the video, click play, be like, okay, I'm going to cut it because they said, this section. So here's a perfect example. In this part that's currently selected, it says right here. I don't want my video to start with right, but that's where it's at right now. So if I want to trim that out, all I need to do is I need to drag this handle down. And just like that, it's trimmed it. So now my video will start with, if you care about your customers. So similarly, right? Now I've just made it end randomly in the middle of a sentence. If I want to extend that, I just grab that, drag it to, let's say, over here, and I let go. Similarly, I can trim it and I can do this. And as I'm doing that, my video is getting shorter and longer, just like that. So I'm going to put it here because I think that's a pretty good place for it to be. But that's essentially how you trim stuff within Choppity. So I can either use the transcript or I can use the timeline. Now, let's say, for example, I've got this section. This is all good. But actually in the middle, it adds this section that I don't like. What I can do is I can highlight this and it will go green. At this point, I can just say cut. Now, it's cut my video into two different sections and the part that's in the middle has been removed. So if I just click play.
We talked about they most recently spoke to.
You see, it's made a cut there, which is perfect. Let's say that's what I wanted in this situation, just a random cut in the middle. It's done that. Let's say, for example, also, I'm like, okay, this is great, but I remember at the end of the video, they talked about something quite cool. Let's just say this section here, and I want to add that to my video. How do I do that? So the easiest way to do this in Choppity is essentially I just drag, highlight the section, let go, and it will say add as clip. So I can just say add as clip, and you can see it's added that section of the video to the end. So again, if I just move back a bit and I click play.
There's other sites and they have horrible photos there too. And this is something we can solve for them.
And you see it's just made a cut there. So that's how you go through and you trim stuff within Choppity. So the next thing that I want to show you is, you see automatically it split these people, top and bottom. If I want to change that, what I can do is I can just go to the crop tab here. Now in the crop tab, what it shows you is, right, so this rectangle here, the one that's now in purple, that's this one on the top. And this one that's now in purple is the one on the bottom. So if I want to change how those are zoomed in and things like that, I can just drag that rectangle like that. And you can see, all right, let's just focus on this guy's hand over here. So you can see now we're focusing on this person's hand. And let's say I want to focus a bit closer on this guy's face, then I just drag that like that. So it allows you to take little sections of this video, of the original video, and reposition them. And let's say, for example, imagine, okay, we've got the two people. Imagine there was a third person here, or maybe there was a plant on the table, and I really like the plant and I want that to show. What I can do is I can click Add Crop Box, and that's added another box here in the middle. So let's say that this hand, for whatever reason, if I wanted to highlight the hand, then I can do that. Cool, so I've just moved my face out the way a little bit there so you can see it better, but you can see you've got this person, the hand, and this guy down here. So yeah, that makes it really easy to position stuff however you want. Now, one of the other things that's important about Choppity, and I'll just get an example here, is that in my original video, which you can see on the left here, it went from this camera angle where it's showing just this guy primarily, and then it changes camera angle and it shows both of them at once. So as a result, Choppity automatically detects whenever there's a cut in the original video, and it calls those scenes. So it says scene 1, scene 2. And yeah, if I extend this, I mean, on this clip, you can see there's more scenes over here. So let's take this one, for example. So in Choppity, I will essentially want to change how the output looks per scene, if I want to. So for example, here, let's say I want it to be a bit more zoomed in on the person's face. I can make it do that like that. Then when I come over to the next scene, and it's made a cut, there was a cut in my original video, that's been detected, and I want it to look like this. So I'm just changing how the cropping looks per scene. And that's how we get this nice effect where it goes from, okay, just focused on the guy's face, there's a cut in the original video, now they're stacked on top of each other. Let's say, for example, I actually want to insert a scene for whatever reason. Like, okay, I'm showing this guy's face, and then I want to, I don't know, cut and show this other guy's face. I can click split scene. So now, as you can see here on the timeline, it says first scene, second scene. What I can do is I can move over here, make sure I'm selected on this, and I'm just going to show this guy. Now, if I go back and forth between those, you can see it cuts between which person I'm showing. And then if I want to undo that, I can either just undo here or do Command Z, Control Z on my keyboard, or I can click merge scenes and that will merge those back together. And so now it's just always showing that one guy. So that's the overview of that. Finally, let's say somebody was swearing and I don't want them to I don't want that to be my video. I can just go through and it will automatically detect, classic keywords, but if there's something sensitive that you want to censor, you can do that manually. So for example, here it says mind, so I'm just going to find mind here in the transcript, and I'm going to click that. So you can see it's censored it like this, and if I click play,
example really clicked in my mind was,
you can see it did the bleep sound effect. Now, if I don't want the bleep sound effect, I can just change it to say mute instead, and that will mute instead of going beep. And I can also change the way that the text looks. Like maybe I don't want the word to appear at all. So now if I click play,
that really clicked in my mind was,
there you go. And now that's perfectly censored in the style that I want for my content. Okay, so that was an overview of how to edit the videos. But what about stuff like the logo, the captions? Well, let's just start with the logo. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the logo. Now you'll notice the timeline changed. That's because over here on the left-hand side, we split the timeline into 4 things. We have the primary media, that's like my baseline background video. We have secondary media, that's things like logos, images, B-roll videos, all those different things. We have the captions, and we have music. So I'm just going to focus on the secondary media, which is the logo. So here I can select this, I can scale it up, I can just drag, move this around wherever I want it to be. Let's make it look really weird, put it over there. And I can also, if I want, use these sliders. So if I want like precision and I want to say, okay, be exactly 50% in the middle, I'm going to type in here 0.5. So 0.5 is exactly in the center, and I can change the size like that. So you can see it's in the center. I can also have a little animation. So if I go to the very start you'll see my image actually isn't visible right now, even though on the timeline it says it should be. The reason for that is because over here it has an animation, and the animation is a fade animation. So that's how it animates in here, and then this is how it animates out at the end. So I'm going to click play. So did you see it did a very quick little fade in animation there? I'm going to do it one more time.
If I
want to remove that, it's very simple. I can just go none. So now there's no animation, my image is there, my logo is there, and yeah, that's the way to change animations. And there's a bunch of different settings that you can play around with, but I won't go into those right now. So the last thing that I think is quite important to show you is the caption styles. So as you remember, there was a caption effect, and then there was also the captions base style. So you can see here, if I go between these two different points, you can see here the magic effect is active. Here it's not. So that's why this one here, so if I just click on these captions, again you will see, right, I've got my caption style. This is where I can go through and I can, for example, edit any typos. So let's say, okay, over here it says, let's go to emailing. All right, so let's say emailing was misspelled. I can just type here and it will edit it. Same for were, I can just type here and I can just edit the way that it looks. So that's how you edit the typos and stuff in the captions. And if, for example, I want to change which words are highlighted, I can go over to the highlight tab. I just go click, click, and then let's say, I don't know, let's click on the word saw. And you can see these words are now highlighted in whatever color I want. And I can also change the selected color here. Next, if I want to change my font, upload my own font, I click on the font family here. We've got a bunch of default fonts that you can choose from. But if I wanted to upload one, I could just click here and upload it. I'm going to choose this quirky one over here. That's kind of, yeah, that looks pretty ugly, but it's just to demonstrate the point. Then I can change the size of the font by doing this. I can change whether it's capitalized. I can change the base color of the fonts. I can change the shadow style. So let's say, for example, if I want this outline, I can make the outline red or blue. I can make it like a block thing or a shadow like this. I can really go through and I can customize it to be however I want. If I want to change the position of these captions, it's the same as in the other thing I was showing where you have the scenes. So because, for example, in this scene, I just have one person, I don't want the captions to be covering his face. Whereas here, again, I don't want the captions to be covering his face. So that means the position of them has to move every time there's a cut. So that's why we have scenes on the captions timeline as well. So if I want to move it, let's say for whatever reason, I actually want the captions to be here on this scene. You can see it's now there. I just have to drag it. And over here, it's still in this position. Again, similarly, for this scene, I could move it all the way down here. And that way I'm editing where the captions are for each scene. If, for example, for whatever reason, I actually always wanted my captions to be in the exact same place, I can just go over here and position, I can set that to static. So now you can see on the timeline, all of those scenes disappeared and the captions are always in the same place. Now, again, so because we have this caption override thing, which was set during the intro, if I want to edit the way that these caption styles look, let's see if we can show a bit more. There you go. If I want to change that the way that these caption styles look, I can either go to the section where I can see them and click on them, or in the timeline, I can just click on them here. You see, just this is the same thing. Again, I can go in here, I can change the font style, and I can do a bunch of stuff. And that's pretty much the same as the other one. Now, finally, here, if I want to change the aspect ratio or the size of my video, I can always do that. So at any point, let's say I've edited like my whole video and I like it, I can go through and I can change it. So I can go from portrait to square to landscape. And yeah, finally, once I'm done, I can just click download and that will download it to my computer. And I guess the last thing that's worth showing you is, okay, so let's say these objects like the image, the captions, these were already added. What if I want to add something new? So the way that you do that is by going to this add object button over here in the bottom left. So I'm going to click on that and it gives me a bunch of different objects. So I can add a little text pop-up. I can add a B-roll video, an image, rectangle, all of these different things that I want. I'm going to select text for now. So there's my text, and you can see it starts about 22 seconds into the video. I don't want that. I want it to start at the very start. So I just drag it, I move it over here. And then now if I go to the start of the video like this, I can see there it says insert text. So I can change that to say, hey guys, this is a bit of text, right? And I can go through, I can change the style of it. Again, same as the captions. You'll see everything's quite like similar within Choppity, and we've done that to make everything kind of standardized. So let's go for that. I'm happy with this style. I want it to be, I don't know. Yeah, let's keep it there. I want it to be there. So yeah, I've made this super ugly project, but I just wanted to showcase how to use all of the features in Choppity. That's pretty much it. And at this point, if you've been able to follow what I've just explained, you should be able to edit in Choppity, no problem. So if you're feeling happy with that, you should move on to the next chapter, templates.